Hello guys, welcome to another section of Learning with Pre-Class. I am Tutor Chima. So today we are going to be looking at WAEC past question on biology for the year 2018. So we are going to continue with questions number 6 to 10, because in our previous video we look at questions 1 to 5. If you've not seen that, I urge you to peruse through our channel and see our wonderful contents. Okay, so students, first and foremost, before we begin, do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like our video, hit on the notification bell so that you will be the first to be notified whenever we have such an educational content on our channel. Do not forget to drop 1 or 2 comments. I've always said is that a comment can be a question, maybe on an area that you do not completely understand, or maybe you want me to explain 1 or 2 more things for further clarification. It can be on this video, it can be on the previous videos I've done. Just feel free to drop 1 or 2 questions, and I'll always be available to answer your questions. Alright students, also one more thing, do not forget to share these videos, because you don't know who might be needing this video somewhere. So share this video so that it will reach as much people as possible. So now, having said that, we are going to go straight to the business of today, which is solving WAEC past question 2018 on biology. Questions number 6 to 10. Alright, let's go. 6 says, active transport differ from diffusion in that active transport A is a very fast process, B allows the movement of substance against concentration gradients, C takes place in both light and dark reactions of photosynthesis, D happens in both plant and animal tissues. Now, for you to confidently select the best answer, you need to know what active transport is and what diffusion is. Now look at the definition. Diffusion is the random movement of solid, liquid or gaseous substances from a region of a higher concentration to a region of a lower concentration. So it takes place as a result of concentration gradients. So diffusion is movement of particles from a region of where they are more crowded to a region of where they are less crowded. I can give you so many examples of diffusion. If you stay at the corner of your room and press your perfume, somebody outside can passively smell of that perfume depending on the concentration. Now in the container, the perfume molecules are in high concentration. As you press the nozzle and they come out, the atmosphere is a low concentration, so they will now spread out. Another very good example, you get a bucket of a pot of hot water that has been boiling. You drop a tea bag inside it. What happens? The molecules of the tea in the bag are in high concentration. Immediately they enter into that water, they diffuse and spread into that water where they are in low concentration until the whole water takes up the color of that water later. So diffusion varies with concentration gradient from where the particles are highly concentrated to where the particles are low or in low concentration until they now spread, evenly spread. That's concentration gradient. That's for diffusion. Now let's look at active transport. Active transport is the random movement of solid, just like diffusion, is the random movement of solid, liquid, or gaseous substances. But there's a difference. From the region of a lower concentration, remember that diffusion is from the region of a higher concentration, but active transport is from the region of a lower concentration to the region of a higher concentration by the use of energy. It's not easy for molecules to move from a lower concentration to a higher concentration, or particles to move from area where they are in less concentration. That's for particles to move from an area where they are in less concentration to an area where they are in high concentration. It's not easy. For that to take place, there must be energy to force those molecules to move from that lower concentration to enter a place where they are in high concentration. A very good example of active transport is what happens during the digestion process. The molecules or particles of food substances in the small intestine are in small concentration, compared to the amount in the bloodstream. In the bloodstream, they are in high concentration, but in the small intestine, there is smaller concentration or lower concentration. Yet, these molecules will still move from the walls of the small intestine, or from the small intestine where there is lower concentration into the bloodstream where there is high concentration. What will cause that to happen is what? Energy, and the energy required for this process is from what? ATP, which is from that cellular respiration. So this process is against concentration gradients, therefore energy must be available for such to take place. The correct answer is option B, allows movement of substance against concentration gradients. You know, diffusion allows movement of substance as a result of concentration gradients, but active transport allows movement of substance against concentration gradients, causing them to move from lower concentration to what? Higher concentration. Question 7, okay, they said, the diagram below are illustration of an experimental setup to demonstrate a type of tropic response in plants. Study them and answer questions 7 and 8. 7. The type of response demonstrated is it phototropism, is it geotropism, is it hydrotropism, is it thiotropism? They're asking us the type of response demonstrated. Let us see. Now this is a control experiment whereby the plants are planted in a well watered soil. Okay, this is a normal soil. Then in this case, the plants are planted in a dry soil. Then between the dry soil, they now placed a porous spot filled of water. So that simply means that water can easily seep little by little from this porous spot into the dry soil. These plants are planted in dry soil, and between them they now place a porous spot full of water. So water can seep from this porous spot into the dry soil. So they ask us what type of response is this. Look at the direction of the growth of the roots and see that its curve is growing towards that porous spot. So as you're looking at the first diagram where water is placed in the porous spots in the soil, you will see that the roots of the plants are growing towards the water in the porous spots. So the roots of plants here are growing. You can see the bending here, it is straight because normal water, normal soil, normal water. But here, dry soil, they now put porous spots at the center field of water. So the plants are now growing towards that porous spots, responding to water. So I said that the directional movement of a part of plants in response to stimuli is known as tropism or tropic movement. So since the stimuli here is water, and you know that water is hydro, this movement is known as hydrotropism. So since these plants are growing towards water, responding to water, which is the stimuli, that type of growth is known as hydrotropism. So the answer is what? Hydrotropism. 8. The conclusion drawn from the experiment is that shoots of plants are negatively thiotropic? Is it that shoots of plants are negatively geotropic? Is it that leaf of plants are positively phototropic? Is it that root of plant are positively hydrotropic? Let us see. Now say that if the movement is towards the stimuli or stimulus, it is positive. But if away from the stimulus, it is negative. And we can see that in this case, let's look at that diagram again, that the stimulus is towards the plant. That simply means positive. So, and I say that therefore roots of plants are positively hydrotropic, since the move kind of response is hydrotropic response or hydrotropism. And moving towards it is positively, moving away is negatively. And from that diagram, they are actually moving towards it. So we can see that roots of plants are what? Positively hydrotropic. So roots of plants are positively hydrotropic. That's the answer. 9 says the odontoid process is found on is it the axis vertebrae? Is it the atlas vertebrae? Is it the thoracic vertebrae? Is it the sacral vertebrae? Remember that this first vertebrae of the vertebral column are 7 in number, known as cervical vertebrae. And that cervical vertebrae, the first 2 are different from the remaining 5. Those first two are what? Atlas and axis. Atlas fits to the skull. Axis fits to the atlas. This atlas has two small bones we call facets that fits to the skull, enabling the skull to nod forward, nodding movement of the skull. This axis fits to the atlas via the odontoid process, enabling the twisting of the neck. Now look at what I said. I said the axis vertebrae has a large centrum. A centrum is a large solid piece of bone that is found below the neural canal. The neural canal is just an opening where a bone, where a vertebrae fits to the next vertebrae. Are you following? An opening where a vertebrae fits to the next vertebrae, and also where some nerves can pass through. That's the neural canal. So the axis vertebrae has a large centrum. That's a solid piece of bone below the neural canal that projects forward, known as the odontoid process. This fits to the ventral portion of the neural canal of the atlas and permits rotation of the head from side to side. So the axis has a long straight bone which is called odontoid process. It is that bone that is used to fit into the neural canal of the atlas. Where the atlas fits to the skull, the axis vertebrae fits to the atlas via the odontoid process. So that's fixing, or that joint enables the head to rotate from side to side. Are you following? So it's actually the axis that has that odontoid process. So the correct answer there is what? The axis vertebrae. 10. A seedling was made to stand in a solution of red ink for 3 hours, and a transverse section of the stem was examined under the microscope to examine after they removed that seedling and planted it into a solution of red ink. That should be eosine solution. Of course, you know that water will enter through that from the root to the stem of the leaf, from the root to the stem of the plant rather. So after about 3 hours, they now remove that plant and cut it, and remove a portion of that stem and view it under a microscope to see what happens in the internal structures of the stem. So then I say that when the stem was examined under the microscope, it was examined to do what? Is it to examine the importance of microelements in plants? Is it to examine the ascent of water through the xylem? Is it to examine the diffusion of colored substances? Or is it to examine the distribution of food in plants? Now look at what I said. The xylem of the plant is responsible for conducting water from the roots to the leaves via the stem. So that simply means that that stem, or it was actually used to examine how this xylem is conducting water, how the xylem conducts water. So the best answer is the ascent of water through the xylem. Okay. Alright guys, we have come to the end of today's section of learning with prep class, where we looked at past questions on WAEC 2018 biology, and we solved questions 6 to 10. If you look below here, you are going to see a link. I urge you to copy and paste this link on your browser. It's going to take you straight to our WhatsApp group. When you join our WhatsApp group, you'll be getting updates and infos on the latest content or videos we have on our channels. So till we meet again, I still remain Tutor Chima. Bye and do stay safe.